I will call the November 26th meeting of the Common Council to order at 7 p.m. If you could all rise as Ms. Lees leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Hampton started a tradition on this Tuesday before Thanksgiving that if instead of here or present, if you could answer with your favorite side dish you're looking forward to on Thursday, I would appreciate it.
Okay. I like that idea. I like that new tradition.
I should have warned you, Mr. Boyce.
I like that new tradition.
Sounds like a TV anchor.
Right? Thank you. Did you call the roll?
Okay, Mr. Boyce,
Sweet potatoes.
Mr. Davis,
Green bean casserole.
Mr. Elliott,
Garlic mashed potatoes.
Mr. Johnson,
Scalloped oysters.
Mr. Schwartz,
Stuffing.
Mr. Smith,
Gravy.
Mr. Thurston,
Ham.
Ms. Wiles,
Stuffing.
Mr. Peterson.
Cheesy potatoes.
Ooh,
Now, whose house are we going to? I think technically Mr. Thurston was actually a main course, but we'll let him get it.
Ham is the side to my turkey.
Okay. Thank you. We were ready for that. Okay. Approval executive session memorandum of November 12th.
Move to approve?
Second.
There's been a motion to approve the executive session and a second. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 8-0 or 801.
I was absent at that.
Abstain.
Yes, abstain.
Approval of the minutes of our November 12th meeting.
Move to approve?
Well, sorry, we're going to
Oh,
postpone.
sorry, yes.
Yes.
Mr. President, I would move that we postpone the approval of the November 12th meeting minutes until the December 17th meeting.
Second?
There's a motion to postpone our minutes from the November 12th meeting to our December 17th meeting. And a second is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 9-0. Approval of the agenda.
Mr. President, I would move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve the agenda in a second is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 9-0. Petitions or comments by citizens who are present. I have no cards in front of me, but if anybody would like to
I
speak,
thought you had a petition.
they can pick up a card and deliver it to Ms. Lees. Mayor's comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, sugar cream pie.
That's also not a side.
Yeah. Oh.
Because I always did
It
pumpkin
can be
pie.
a side.
Okay,
It can be a
fine.
side.
I don't know. In my house, it's a side, which explains a lot.
Yeah.
Okay? This body is brought to you by all of those things. So I'll just be brief. First of all, just wish each and every one of you a happy Thanksgiving. Thankful for your service to this community. Thankful to live in a community where we have great people that step up to serve. Just a few quick reminders that Thursday is a holiday. Thursday and Friday, non-emergency offices will be closed here at the city of Noblesville, but our great first responders and those taking care of flushing toilets will all be on duty to make sure this city continues to move forward. I would encourage you, if you are free Thanksgiving morning, to come join us for the Michael Trinan Turkey Trot. I imagine Councilor Johnson will tell you that they will still allow walk-up registrations and registrations currently.
Absolutely.
If not, just go find Dave Johnson. He'll make sure to get you taken care of. The entire Jensen family will be there. 9 a.m. start time on the square.
Unless you want to put cones on the streets and be there at 5. Dave.
Dave will take you there whenever. And I would also like to thank our Mayor's Youth Council will actually be out tomorrow night and on Thursday morning helping with packet pickup. So a lot of our youth will be out there. Maybe some boys, girls might be helping
Boys
out
will
too.
both be out there,
Which
yes.
will be great. I really appreciate Lexi Rock and her team for engaging the youth in a lot of those conversations. I will also note that on Saturday is Small Business Saturday. I said today in a promotional video that we did that there's probably no community better represented by small businesses in the city of Noblesville. It truly is our bread and butter. It's the backbone of our economy, and I'd encourage you to get out and shop small on Saturday. There'll be stickers representing Small Business Saturday in the city of Noblesville all around the square, so please get out and support all those that are that take big risks to open up a small business and patronize them on Saturday. So that will take us into a wonderful weekend. Luckily, we'll be back here next Tuesday night for another city council meeting that I can update you on additional holiday happenings all around the city of Noblesville. But happy to answer any questions, but most importantly, happy Thanksgiving.
Any questions for the mayor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Council committee reports, public safety. That is me. We met at the police police station and went through, got a tour of some of their facilities, and we compared, Chief Mann compared the 2023 to 24 statistics. Stops have gone up, and coincidentally, crime has gone down. Property crimes have decreased. We talked a lot about new crimes and what we're doing to, as criminals get smarter, which seems like an oxymoron, but they keep coming, and what we're doing to stay in front of new crimes and cyber crimes, and what we're going to do this holiday season to keep Noblesville safe. We also talked about the new police station. That is going to be, the RFQ is, deadline to submit is November 26th, so we missed that, let's see. And submit proposals is December 17th. We discussed a little bit about Fire Station 77 and some repairs going on there. And Chief Mitchell stated that runs have decreased by 1% from 2023. And we talked a lot about the success of the Noble Acts program. That's pretty much it. So any questions for me? Anybody wants to add anything? Thank you. We'll move on to utilities. Mr. Schwartz.
Yes, Mr. President. The Noblesville City Utilities met Thursday, November 14th. Myself, Mark Boyce, Mike Davis, Evan Elliott were present, along with Deputy Mayor Matt Light was in the meeting electronically. It was a rather brief meeting. We discussed third quarter financial report, revenue and expenditures. It was happily reported that they were on target and slightly above the adopted budget, so they were on target there. Let's see. We did discuss the painting and some things that are necessary around those tanks as far as fencing and things like that goes. Let's see. And then there was a Barrett Law update. Director Margot stated the legal department suggested updating the city code when the next neighborhood would be in the need of in regards to the Barrett Law. And that's pretty much it.
Any question for Mr. Schwartz? Downtown District Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Downtown District Committee met last Friday. Dave Johnson and myself were present, along with a slew of community partners. We talked about a lot of things, but mostly wrapped up the year. We talked about the status of funds that this committee has jurisdiction over. Mainly that's all in preparation for our streetscape master plan, which will be ongoing, and we'll talk about more in 2025. The Parks Department did share a report on their update or upcoming capital improvements. The highlights include retaining wall at Forest Park near the pool, the green barn near Hop Station will be demolished, because that's in questionable state. Playground upgrades will be happening at Federal Hill and Dillon Park. And then we talked about the Finch Creek Park updates coming in the second phase of that. We touched on a few other capital activities that are happening downtown Noblesville, including the White River Rail Bridge. That will be happening in the first quarter in 2025, with hopes that the ducks for the duck race will be able to be dropped from the train again. Talked about the Logan Street Trail extension, which will couple with the streetscape plan, and then dove into a little bit more of the conversation around what the downtown streetscape plan will look like as we move into 2025. It was a great conversation. We're so glad that we have community partners that are willing to devote time to be there and feed into what we're doing downtown, especially as we move into such an important topic with streetscape.
Any questions for Mr. Smith?
Yes, Mr. President, as far as the playground equipment, did they have like a time frame for Federal Hill?
They did not.
They did not.
Just said it was in 2025.
2025. Thank you.
Any other questions? Finance Committee, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met November 21st. Dave Johnson, Aaron Smith, Megan Wiles, and myself. Holly Ramone went over amendment to the 2025 salary ordinance. Tom McDonald discussed the fiscal action, additional appropriation for the ARPA funding reallocation. And Tom also had another fiscal action and additional appropriation for investment fees. Wendy Stremlaw from the Parks Department talked about a fiscal action, additional appropriation for golf operations. I would be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Davis? Seeing none, okay, thank you. There is no claims docket for tonight, so we will move on to previously discussed ordinances. Council to consider ordinance 601024, an ordinance appropriating the proceeds of the capital project short-term general obligation bond of 2024, Series A, as amended. Jeff Spalding.
Mr. President, members of the council, Jeff Spalding, CFO and Controller. Excuse me. And this is a little bit of an oddball of a previously discussed ordinance. It's actually an ordinance that's made it all the way through, and you've previously adopted it, but it's being brought back before this body again for ratification to cure some technical issues around the timing of the advertisement for the public hearing and so on and so forth. So this is kind of a second shot at a public hearing on this to just make sure all the i's were dotted and t's were crossed.
So all this that says as amended, we're not amending the ordinance. It's the
Yeah,
same.
there's no change in the ordinance. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just curing that other matter.
yeah. Any questions? If there are no questions, I will open up the public hearing for ordinance 601024 as amended.
Mr. President, seeing no one come forward, I would move that we close the public hearing for ordinance number 60-10-24 as amended.
Second.
There's a motion to close the public hearing for 601024 as amended. This is a roll, or this is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 9-0.
Mr. President, I would move to ratify the adoption of ordinance number 60-10-24 as amended.
Second.
Motion to ratify the adoption of ordinance 601024 as amended. In a second, there's a roll call vote.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Elliott?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Thurston?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
9 ayes, 0 nay. The ordinance is ratified.
Thank you.
Thank you.
New ordinance for discussion. Council to consider ordinance 570924A, a salary ordinance amending ordinance 750924, salaries for appointed officials and employees of the city of Noblesville for 2025.
Move to introduce ordinance number 57-09-24A.
Second.
Good evening.
Patty Johnson.
I'm here for Holly Ramone, who's on vacation, and the change to this ordinance, which we are asking be passed on first reading, is to add a line for temporary snowplow drivers and laborers for the street department, setting that pay at $22 per hour. Normal temporary pay for street department employees is around $17 an hour. We wouldn't be able to find anybody who's willing to plow snow for that amount, so.
Qualified.
That's qualified,
Yeah.
yes. So,
Probably for 5 minutes, because they'd be excited about doing it for 5 minutes. It's real old, real quick,
it would
right?
be
That
real
would
hard to get them to come in the middle of the night, let's
Yes,
put it that way.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
I will say Patty's pretty talented. When she presented this at finance, it was the first time that it was snowing outside this year. So she timed it impeccably well.
I do have a question, Mr. President. Are they in city vehicles or do they bring
Yes,
their own?
they will be in city vehicles, pickup trucks. They won't be in anything that requires a CDL license.
Okay.
Mr. President, I would motion that.
Wait one second.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Johnson, would you like to have this approved in one
Yes.
reading?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
please.
I was getting
Okay,
ready to do.
sorry.
Yep.
Thank you. Sure.
Mr. President, I would motion that we waive the rules and pass 570924A on first reading.
Second.
There's a motion to waive the rules and approve ordinance 570924A on the first reading. In a second, there's a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 9-0.
Mr. President, I would move that we approve ordinance number 57-09-24A.
Second.
There's a motion to approve ordinance 570924A in a second. There's a roll call vote. Please.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Elliott?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Thurston?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
9 ayes, 0 nay, the ordinance is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council to consider ordinance 691124, an ordinance approving an additional appropriation in the American Rescue Plan Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund to provide funding for the downtown streetscape project and establishing a public hearing.
Move to introduce ordinance number 69-11-24.
Second?
Tom McDonald.
Good evening, Tom McDonald, Deputy Financial Officer with the Office of Finance and Accounting. And this issue largely deals with the need to reprioritize the American Rescue Plan fiscal recovery funds from one capital project to another based on implementation timelines. So back in August, the council approved an additional appropriation increase to use a portion of the city's recovery funds for several projects. And those funds need to be contractually obligated by the end of this year, or they'll be returned to the federal government based on federal rules. But one of the projects that had been prioritized for use of this funding is taking a little bit longer to enter into a contract. And so instead of, that's the Logan Street Trail project, and so instead of prioritizing the funding for that project, the city now wants to prioritize it for the downtown streetscape project, which can get a contract in place in time. And in doing so, based on the estimates of that project, and there's a $20 a difference in funding that's needed, so the ordinance does include a $20 additional appropriation.
Good catch on that one. Any questions? Sorry.
Mr. President, I would move to establish a public hearing for the December 17th for ordinance number 69-11-24.
Second?
Motion to establish a public hearing at the December 17th meeting. A second. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
I know we're actually having a public hearing for $20.
$20. Yep. Council.
Couldn't talk about it, just shaving $20 off the price.
Council to consider ordinance 70-1124, an ordinance approving an additional appropriation in the 2016 Lowit for roads fund to provide funding for the investment fees and establishing a public hearing.
Move to introduce ordinance number 70-11-24.
Second.
Tom McDonald.
Yep, again, Tom McDonald, the Office of Finance and Accounting. And this ordinance would provide an additional appropriation of $4,700 in the 2016 Lowit for Roads funds to pay for investment fees associated with that fund. Just to give you some context, year to date, the investments with those funds total around $169,000. That's just the revenue side. Cost side is $4,700, and that's in the ordinance as an additional appropriation to pay that cost.
Thank you, and I appreciate you keeping those separate, the revenue and the expenses. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
We were talking about this, and that whole idea is to be able to track appropriately the investment fees that are associated with this particular fund. We have other investments that are doing great, but we want to make sure that we're tracking those fees appropriately by those different funds. So that's why we're going through this action.
That's right.
Thank you.
So with that, I would move to establish a public hearing for the December 17th meeting for ordinance 70-11-24.
Second.
Motion to establish a public hearing for the December 17th meeting in a second. There's a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 9-0. Thank you. Council to consider ordinance 71-11-24, an ordinance approving an additional appropriation in the Parks Program Fund to support golf program operations and establishing a public hearing.
Move to introduce ordinance number 71-11-24.
Second.
Tom McDonald.
Again, Tom McDonald, Office of Finance and Accounting, and this ordinance would provide an additional appropriation of $330,000 in the Parks Program Fund to support golf program operations, which is due to the duration of this year's golf season and the demand for golf being better than expected. So this is a very business-oriented program, and that with increased activity has resulted in increased revenue. And again, just as context, compared to the city's fiscal plan, revenue is up by around $600,000, so more than expected. But with that increased demand, there's also increased costs associated with that. Cost for fuel, cost for maintaining greens and the golf course. So there's, again, a cost side to the additional revenue. And this would provide, again, $330,000, so more than sufficient revenue to support that cost. This is not to invest in anything new, but just to maintain program operations.
Thank you. This is the one weird thing about public finances. The better we do, we appropriate more money to take care of it.
And Wendy confirmed that just because we are appropriating more dollars, the revenue is outpacing the expenses. So it's not throwing money into a pit.
Mr. President, I would move that we establish a public hearing for the December 17th meeting for ordinance number 71-11-24.
Second?
There's a motion to establish a public hearing for the December 17th meeting, and a second. There's a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 9-0. Thank you. Miscellaneous, council to consider an interlocal agreement with NDOT for the preliminary design of an interchange at State Road 37 and Greenfield Avenue. Allison Krupski.
Good evening. I feel like I have not seen a lot of you in a while, except for roads committee, so it's been a while. In front of you guys is an interlocal agreement with NDOT for preliminary design on State Road 37 from Greenfield Avenue to State Road 32. Back in July, Mayor Jensen entered into a memorandum of agreement with Commissioner Mike Smith of NDOT. So this was just an agreement of terms that we knew that we were going to have to get an actual interlocal agreement. It will be next year. What you have in front of you is NDOT up front agreed that they would look at the corridor for the preliminary design, but then they agreed to final design at State Road 3238. So that should be funded in 2029, 2030. And so that is fully funded design construction. The rest of it, they have agreed that they will look at Pleasant Street and then they will look at Town and Country, but they were only looking at Greenfield Avenue as added travel lanes. So for the city, we did not think that was acceptable. We really felt like an interchange needed to be investigated. If funding comes available, we want to be ready to apply for that and be in a good position to do that. So we started talking, we had many conversations with NDOT, and we finally came to the agreement that we would fund the preliminary design for the Greenfield Avenue interchange. Now, our term with that was that we would have, that payment, so not $994,000, would be a part of our 20% match that we have already agreed to in the MOA. Again, that will be firmed up in the interlocal that we will hopefully get into next year, but this will not be lost revenue or lost payment for the city. It will count toward our already committed 20% match. And so I recommend that you approve this agreement with NDOT. And really, this is just allowing us to send them that check. And we've actually already started design, NDOT has. So we're up and running, and we're looking forward to getting our first public hearing is actually upcoming in December. I can't remember. I think it's the 11th. Is it the 11th? Yeah. So.
Thank you for staying out in front of that. I appreciate that, and working out what seems to be a pretty good deal for the city. Thank you.
Mr. President, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Raleigh, but I'm just curious. Isn't that, I feel like I remember us going through, and that's one of our more dangerous intersections, isn't it?
So
have more.
I don't know the exact accident date of all of them, but from a city intersection, so that is one of our worst, and we own Greenfield Avenue. So that's why it would be one of our most dangerous. For NDOT, they're looking all over the state, but within the city of Noblesville, they also have State Road 32 and 37 that intersect. And so for them, that is the most critical intersection. Greenfield and 37 is probably the least critical. That's why I would have seen the
Greenfield with us. Okay, that makes sense, because I was thinking it was really bad, but that makes sense.
The list you saw would have just been intersections that have city of Noblesville crossing. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
It is certainly one of the most frustrating intersections.
I would agree.
Yeah, it is.
Any other questions?
Mr. President, I would move that we approve the interlocal agreement with NDOT.
Second.
Motion to approve the interlocal agreement with NDOT in a second. There's a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 9-0.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Council comments. Is John Hughes going to make a council? Nope. I would like to wish our Deputy Mayor Matt Light a happy birthday today. Congratulations.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday. You want us to sing for you?
No, Greg O'Connor.
Von Trapp over here.
We'll let Evan sing for you.
Greg O'Connor has tried that several times, and it did not, so we're not going to sing. It's a no singing zone.
We should make him identify his favorite Thanksgiving side, though. I think that's
Yes,
all.
Mr. Light, your favorite side dish.
Probably salad or something. Yeah.
Dry salad.
All right.
With salad, yeah.
Once a year, he has mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yeah.
Any other, Lights Over Seminary Park is December 6th, Friday evening, okay.
So we'll go through those next week.
I guess that is.
Yes, December 6th will be Lights Over Seminary. It's also the first Friday at downtown Noblesville, and then the Christmas and Lights Parade, Holiday Lights Parade will be on Saturday evening, December 7th. So
Thank
I'll
you.
give you all that next Tuesday.
I forgot, we do not have a break between
No,
meetings, so thank you.
Plenty of holiday cheer coming your way.
Any other council comments? We're adjourned. Thank you.